I'm with Jess Valentin in New York with Inspira. Jess, good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you as well. Jess and I go back a long way. And Jess, just to paraphrase your career, uh, long career with Johnson and Johnson, particularly most recently in Sydney, Japan, and back to the US. And I think why I wanted to talk to you is obviously you returned back to the US and moved into consulting. And so, by virtue of your role sitting out in New York, you're really, I guess, not so much on the fence, you're actually in the trench, dealing with some of the issues that are going to transform organizations into the next phase for the future. And I wanted to touch on some of those observations.
Great. No, thank you so much for the opportunity. I think you sort of talked about my career, and I think now in the consulting capacity, we really are in the trenches and on the front lines of what is, I think, the transformation of the function in terms of how we work. So we've had to work really fast, particularly in the Northeast, to make sure people are up to speed, that the workforce is ready to kind of embrace this new way of working, whether it be remotely, whether it be from your summer homes, right? A lot of people are doing that as well. And a lot of times it's been really managers being more comfortable and trusting their employees. So we see those type of issues coming frontline and center as a result of COVID and other things.
So what's really interesting for me is, with you sitting out in New York, things got intense for you quite quickly, and so you as a person and you as a mum, and so you had to organize yourself, and then you obviously needed to, put yourself in that position to be working with clients and evaluating with clients. What was that transition like for you?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think we were all, as a human race, struggling with, I think, this new way of working. I think I'm fortunate enough to work for a consulting firm that has no office. So we have been working remotely for some time. So it was not new for us. I think what we were able to do with our clients is really help them to move forward. I think there's a bit of a lag when you're doing things in a new way. And so helping them by actually sharing best practices on how we work with them and how that translates into how they work with their employees has really been useful to get them to move forward on their initiatives and also consider the environment that has changed as well. So I think that's been a personal piece of way of working that actually translated into work as well.
So, I mean, I've obviously been closely watching the HR profession across the world, and HR people have been very valuable through this period. There hasn't been too much restructuring going on, but I want to touch on your observations of what you think the profession is going to go through in this near term and as we move into the future, with respect to how the workplace is being organized and how it's changing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that leadership and people management capabilities are frontline and center of how work is going to happen in the future. And if you've been kind of skating by and getting by without being a good people leader, I think the new way of working, this new environment of not being close to your employee is really going to bring that to the forefront. So I would say that it is imperative for anyone who's in the HR function or any leader to really make sure that, that leader, that people manager, your people will actually only be as good as people management in some cases. So making sure they're equipped. And that means, quite frankly, holistically equipped. A lot of times we think it's about making managers better people leaders, but sometimes it's about helping them understand the environment and working through their own issues so that they can help others. And that extends to their leadership as well. So some of the work we've done has really been about, I hate to call it self-care because I think that's a buzzword, but how can I be a better individual that can stand and see strength in this situation and then help inspire others to do the same? And that requires practice. It requires intention. It requires a little bit of inspiration sometimes. So that's what we try to do when we work with our clients, is really to get them to know that, they can do this, and then some practical tips on how to do that, but starting with them as individuals. That's one of the great things about Inspira is, we inspire your people to thrive so that your business can thrive. That's actually our mission. So getting people to understand that and what that looks like.
Jess, can I pick up on that point? Because I think it's such an interesting point what you said around the self care piece. And having worked in the virtual dimension for the last 12 years, I as a leader find that every move is scrutinized. In the virtual domain. So you're on WhatsApp or you're on Teams or you leave a lot of footprints. And so I myself have found myself sometimes needing to stand away and be quiet and sort of brush up before I front back to the business. But what tips have you suggested around just the art of that for leaders now? Because it's quite a big transition.
It is a big transition. And just like anything that's worth doing, it does require discipline. So it's discipline in a new way. It doesn't feel comfortable for a lot of people because I think we feel that because we have these tools and we are working from home, we should be faster. We should be responding faster. We should be available 24/7. But sometimes you have to slow down in order to really kind of hit the curve and pop back up. So a lot of the tools that we have been sharing with our clients hasn't been around how to be more efficient. It's actually been how do you slow down and actually take the time to have the discipline to walk away so that you can actually then come back and be fully focused when you are on a Zoom call and you're not multitasking, responding to the Slack, on Facebook. That in and of itself is a discipline. And so, it doesn't matter when you're kind of doing social things because you can be at dinner with the phone in front of you. But when you're at work, you want to have a discipline to do that. So sharing tips on that is important. And it includes things like physical movement, getting up, actually turning off your phone, having your phone in another room, which I know that's not necessarily sort of rocket science, but there is a clear connection between not having a device and going for a walk and having a device and going for a walk and the extent to which you actually ramp down and relax. So those are some of the things that we share with our clients.
I want to get your insights on another phenomenon, which is really, I guess, the hybrid working model that we're going to see more of. So obviously, we've gone from physical to complete virtual, and then back to some sort of transitionary stage. But we've still got a lot of uncertainty ahead of us. How are you advising organizations around that phenomenon and how they need to be made up for the future?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting one because you want to honor the extent to which our employees feel comfortable returning. And so I think that thinking about how work gets done and thinking about the risk of having an individual working from home or working from someplace else, which they've been doing for the last 3 or 4 months, quite frankly, and to the extent to which you need to have face-to-face meetings is something that I think every organization is going to have to sort of be faced with or deal with, and also honoring your employees in a different way in terms of how they can contribute. I think there will be people who will embrace a hybrid model. So they might want to come to the office a couple of days a week, stay home, or continue to work remotely. And those organizations that can adapt to that quickly and say, we're still going to be just as effective, if not more effective, by having this hybrid model, those are the ones that are going to succeed. If we're trying to still continue to do things the way we've done them, I think that there are going to be some challenges, particularly because people are now feeling not just psychologically unsafe, well, maybe still psychologically unsafe, but physically unsafe. And then that translates into many more issues in terms of engagement.
Thank you very much, Jess. Some espresso shots of advice from Jess Valentin in New York.
Nespresso, way to go. Thank you.